The 10 Senate seats most likely to flip in 2022, but it's far too early to assume that the national mood heading into the fall will look anything like the political climate of November 2022. The former president, who had already endorsed in North Carolina earlier this summer, made endorsements in open GOP primaries in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada over the past month, while Republicans in Ohio, Arizona, and Missouri are still duking it out over fealty to him. It remains to be seen, however, just how much those endorsements matter. Here are the 10 Senate seats most likely to flip next fall. 1. Pennsylvania incumbent, Republican Pat Toomey 2. Georgia incumbent, Democrat Raphael Warnock 3. Wisconsin incumbent, Republican Ron Johnson 4. Arizona incumbent, Democrat Mark Kelly. 5. North Carolina incumbent, Republican Richard Burr. Trump endorsed in the GOP primary to replace retiring Senator Richard Burr back in June, throwing his support behind Representative Ted Budd in a surprise announcement in front of other contenders. But former Governor Pat McCrory and former Representative Mark Walker aren't backing down. Meanwhile, the political arm of the Conservative Club for Growth, which has stood by Budd since helping him emerge from a 17-way House primary in 2016, is taking the airwaves to attack McCrory, arguing that he cannot win because he lost re-election in 2016 when Trump won the state. Walker has tried to make a similar argument about McCrory, while both he and McCrory have piled on Budd. Trump carried the Tar Heel state by just over a point in 2020, making this potentially competitive terrain even if Republicans start with the early advantage. State Senator Jeff Jackson, who's been in the race since January, had raised the most money on the Democratic side by the end of the second quarter. But former state Supreme Court Chief Justice Sherry Beasley, who joined the race in late April, raised $1.3 million during the second quarter. Besides Emily's List, she has the backing of Higher Heights PAC, which works to elect progressive black women, and the political arm of the Congressional Black Caucus, reflecting the enthusiasm for a non-white male candidate helping turn out minority voters in a non-presidential year, especially in some of the rural areas where Republicans have continued to hold an advantage. 6. New Hampshire incumbent, Democrat Maggie Hassan 7. Nevada incumbent, Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto. Democratic Senator Catherine Cortez Masto finally has a high-profile opponent in former Nevada Attorney General Adam Laxalt, whom national Republicans had long eyed as the top challenger but who officially launched his campaign at the end of August. He's the rare GOP candidate who was recruited by Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and has Trump's endorsement, making it more likely he'll have the GOP field mostly to himself as other ambitious Republicans jockey for the gubernatorial nomination. As Trump's campaign co-chair in the Silver State, Laxalt followed the former president's lead on false charges of voter fraud, for which Trump praised him in offering his endorsement last month, and he's already made some noise about filing lawsuits in 2022. Democrats are hoping his embrace of Trump's election fraud narrative will help tie him to the former president and turn off voters in a state that Biden carried last fall. His position on abortion could also be litigated in the general election, especially since Nevada has a history of GOP leaders who have been more supportive of abortion rights, like former GOP Governor Brian Sandoval. Democrats hope to argue that Laxalt is out of touch with voters on the issue. Still, Biden only carried the Silver State by just over 2 points, and Cortez Masto is running for her first re-election, so Democrats aren't taking anything for granted here, especially with an uncertain post-pandemic electorate. 8. Florida incumbent, Republican Marco Rubio. GOP Senator Marco Rubio starts with the advantage in this state that Trump carried by 3 points last year. But Democratic Representative Val Demings, who outraised Rubio in the second quarter, is proving to be a strong fundraiser who could give the Republican senator a real race. Rubio is trying to tie Demings to the Socialist Squad and Democrats' physical and human infrastructure bills. Demings has attacked Rubio for traveling to Iowa late last month, while Florida is dealing with the Delta variant surge. 9. Ohio incumbent, Republican Rob Portman. GOP Senator Rob Portman's decision to retire has opened up a crowded GOP primary, with most contenders trying to out-Trump each other in a state the former president won by 8 points. State Senator Matt Dolan, who entered the race this week, cuts a more moderate profile. He supports the bipartisan infrastructure bill that Portman negotiated, according to an interview with Cleveland.com, and has been critical of Trump's election lies. But it's unclear how much traction he can get in a GOP primary, where the former president's influence is king with the base. Trump already attacked Dolan, whose family owns Cleveland's baseball team, for cancel culture because they decided to change the team's name. Former State Treasurer Josh Mandel has been courting that conservative base hard, attacking refugees despite his own family history. J.D. Vance, the author of Hillbilly Elegy, has been leading and earned media attention and is racking up endorsements from conservative leaders like Missouri Senator Josh Hawley and Indiana Representative Jim Banks, the chair of the largest conservative caucus in the House. Those endorsements could help compensate for his prior criticism of Trump, which his opponents are eager to use against him. Former state party chair Jane Timken, businessmen Mike Gibbons and Bernie Moreno are also running. On the Democratic side, Representative Tim Ryan recently got a challenge from his left and Morgan Harper, who's arguing that she can drive the minority turnout needed to turn Ohio blue. Harper lost a 2020 primary challenge to Representative Joyce Beatty, who's now the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus and has backed Ryan. 10. Missouri incumbent, Republican Roy Blunt.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.